Hello, and welcome to the sixth video in the Beginner's Python tutorial series. In this video, we will be learning about loops. If you find this video helpful, remember to smash like and subscribe since it helps my channel to grow. And without further ado, let's get started. What is a loop? A loop is simply a section of code that can repeat itself several times. In Python, there are two types of loops, while loops and for loops. While loops are quite simple. They run as long as a condition is true. The syntax for creating one is while followed by a condition, a colon, and then the code to repeat indented underneath that. Let's look at an example. In Visual Studio Code, I have created a new file called whileloop.py. In here, I will start by declaring a new variable, counter, and set that equal to 0. Now I will say while counter is less than 5, print a formatted string which we learnt about last week. This is in the loop, counter is now, and then counter in curly braces. Underneath this, I will say counter is equal to counter plus 1. But in Python, there is actually a better way to do this, which I can say counter plus equals 1, which means exactly the same thing. I will now save the script, and in the integrated terminal, run python of whileloop.py. You will see 5 print statements, with counter ranging from 0 through to 4. It all seems to be working, so let's look at creating a simple login application. For this, I'll set password equal to 12345, and then the guess will be equal to the user's input, where I'll prompt them to enter their password. Now while the guess is not equal to the password, I'll say print incorrect, please try again, and then I will copy our guess and paste it in over here. Now once the guess does equal the password, I'll print you are now logged in. If we save and run this script, you'll see that it prompts me for a password. If I get it wrong, it will say please try again and prompt me again. I can get it wrong as many times as I like, and it won't let me through, but the moment I put in the right password, it will break out of the loop and log me in. Of course, the application doesn't actually do anything yet, but you can see how this principle could be used in real life. Currently, I don't like the fact that we are asking for input on 2 separate lines, even though they are asking for the exact same thing, so let's clean it up a little. To do this, we will be using an infinite loop and manually breaking out of it when the user enters the correct password. To create an infinite loop in Python, we say while true, since the condition is always true. We could also say something like while 1 is equal to 1, but while true is the best way to create an infinite loop for the sake of readability. Let's now recreate our login application using an infinite loop. We can keep the password, but remove the first guess and change the while to while true. For now, I will empty out the loop and then restart with guess is equal to input, enter your password. Then, if the guess is equal to the password, then we will break out of the loop. If it is not equal to the password, we will print incorrect, please try again. And then finally, if they get the right password, we will print you are now logged in. Break is a new keyword, and it literally tells Python to break out of the current loop. So once the guess is correct, we will no longer be in the infinite loop, and the code after it can run. Let's quickly test it to make sure it works. Enter your password, please try again, and once I get it right, it should break me out of the loop and say you are now logged in. Great! That covers the basics and a bit more of while loops. So let's move on to for loops. The general definition of a for loop is that it is a loop that runs a certain number of times. However, in Python, they are slightly more complex than that. To understand for loops, we will first need to learn about lists, another data type that Python supports. A list is a container which can store multiple data values, also known as elements. For example, a list of names of plants may contain roses, violet, lavender, bottlebrush. Importantly, every element is separated by a comma, and to create a list in Python, we surround the whole thing in square brackets. We can also assign the list to a variable, such as plants is equal to that list. The order of elements in a list never changes, so to access an item, we can use what we call square bracket notation. That simply means to type the variable name, followed by square brackets, and inside of those square brackets we can put a number called the index. Every element in a list has an index, starting at 0 and incrementing for every element. If we wanted to access lavender, we would say plants 2, since roses would be 0, violets would be 1, lavender would be 2, and bottlebrush would be 3. In Python, we can use for loops to iterate over every element in a list, and the syntax to do so is for element in list, where list is the name of the list, and element is a variable which you can call anything, and it stores the value of each element in the list. Let's take a look at an example. Here I have a file called forloops.py, and in it I will create the list of plants. Now I can say for element in plants and then do something. In this case, I will simply print the element using print element. If I save and run the script with Python of forloops.py, you will see every element in the list printed one by one. I could also say for plant in plants to make it more descriptive, and then say print plant. A list can also contain multiple data types, so I could add a number, for example 3, at the end of the list, as well as a boolean, say false. And now if I run it, you'll see that it still works, printing 3 and false at the end of the list. However, in general, you should try to keep your list to a single data type, as it makes your code easier to read and understand, and also helps to prevent you from making mistakes with different data types, as we looked at in the second tutorial. Now let's say I want to run a loop a specific number of times. As per the above example, I could create a list of the desired length and say something like for I in 0, 1, and 2 to loop 3 times, but you can see that this would quickly become very cumbersome if we want to loop a large number of times. Luckily, Python comes with a built-in function called range, which automatically generates a list of specified length. To generate a list of length 3, we would say range 3, and we can now use this in our script to say for I in range 3, print I. If I save and run the script, you'll see that it iterated over every element in the list created by range, so 0, 1, 2. If we want to iterate over more items, say 100, I can simply replace the 3 with 100, and it will do it just like that. Just before we conclude, I would like to go back to our script that we made in the last video, the input.py. I said that there would be a better way to get the information about lots of people, and we can do that using loops. For now, I will create a for loop and say for I in range 3, print person info, and then we can delete all of these other copied and pasted ones over there. Run the script with Python of input.py, enter your name, age, and favorite color. Then we will see that we are prompted for another person. I will quickly fill these out, just so that you can see it works. With loops, you can see how easy it would be to get information about more people, as we can replace 3 with any number we like, and it will work as simple as that. We could also use a while loop to keep on asking until the person doesn't enter an input for name, or when name is equal to null. I will show you a quick example of this, but we won't go through the code in detail since it just uses concepts that we have already learned. There is so much more that we can do with Python's loops as they are very powerful, but everything builds off the principles that we learnt in this lesson. That's the end of this tutorial. In the next one, we will look at exceptions and stopping users from entering input that we don't want, such as letters when we want a number. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.